So here is another one of the plugins that I've been working on. I've been working on 4 different ones, maybe 5, but there are 2 that are, I think, the most solid. The first one being that additive synth that I showed you a little bit of, and I should show you a little bit more of that. That's come a long way since the one video that I made a couple months ago. The other one is this basically a distortion plugin. I kind of tried to make this as I wouldn't say necessarily the holy grail of distortion, but kind of everything that I could realistically need in one place that is flexible enough but not too insane to control. And what it basically is 2 paths of distortion, up to 1 or 2. So you've got the possibility for stereo distortion paths, and each path is 2 stages of distortion with some EQ between. So that really gives you a lot of possibility for tone shaping. So I can get everything from super heavy kind of stuff, or something more overdrivey. And another cool aspect is that in addition to being able to have a specific type of distortion quality, so down here you can see, well, let me actually walk you through the path. So here's how it works. You can choose whether or not you want all dry signal or wet, or some combination thereof. You can ignore this for right now. This shows where we want the left input to go and where we want the right input to go. So we could say, if you had a stereo keyboard instrument, you would say you might want input 1 to go all the way to the left, or to path 1, and you would want the right input to go all the way to path 2. Or you can split the difference like we did with that patch. You can see that I've got input 1 goes halfway to path 1 and halfway to path 2. Right now I think I only have, oh no, I do have both paths going in this particular patch. Let me go to a simpler patch. Let me go to just our default mono input. So now you can see I have input 1 going to all the way left, and down here all the way at the bottom you can see that I've got the pan set to center. So basically, and then this volume is set all the way down. So we just have one path of distortion here. And in fact, I have, well, let me just walk you through it. So there's a reset, which path we want the input to go down. And then the path starts here. So we can dial in some EQ right away. Can cut some lows if we want, can cut some highs if we want, and can do a little bit of mid scooping, or we can do some mid punching, like what maybe certain distortion pedals might do, like tube screamers. Tube screamers would maybe have this bumped up a little bit, so we could kind of emulate that first part of this path as being something like a tube screamer pedal if we wanted to. Then you can choose what style of distortion you want, like the kind of behavior that you want the distortion to have. Everything from mild saturation to something that has saturation with more of an even harmonic distribution, and then some weirder stuff like bit crushing, other types of wave folding and some stuff. So we've got a lot of different types of distortion we can get. There's tube emulation and a bunch of other things that give us a wide range of distortion types. So I can show you that. Then you can choose how much, how you can give it a different drive versus output level, so you can kind of volume correct for you know, as you increase the drive in your distortion, it's going to increase the output level, so you want to be able to compensate there. And then you can, then that first stage feeds into the second stage where you can do it all over again, just a copy of the same exact thing. So you can, you could have like a distortion feeding a second distortion. Again, like many guitar players will have a pedal going into an amp or that kind of a thing. So before we get too far down the path, let me just show you some, let's do an example here. So here we've got some stereo overdrive guitar. So I have both paths running here, and the only distortion that's really coming into play is this second phase, this shape B. So you can see that our output level, we're driving A, not at all, and it's just a linear shape, so that means the first portion of that distortion is nothing. It just passes it through linearly. Same with everything up here. We've got linear, 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 so that the only thing that's doing anything is this bottom one. But you'll notice that we have a different setting here than here. So that slight difference in distortion quality gives us a little bit of stereo without having to do double tracking. I mean, obviously doing double tracking would give us an even, probably a better result in most cases, but without having to do delays or other things, you can just give yourself a little bit of a stereo quality by changing the quality of the amp that you're playing through, basically. Another thing this can do is, you notice that we had this A and B. What we can choose to do is actually have, that's where this blending comes in. Many amps have what are called, they have a characteristic known as sag, and that basically means that when the input is loud, the amp starts to behave a little bit differently than when the input is quieter. And we can emulate that in this by having a blend range here where based on the input level, you can see that it says that I'm getting around, you know, -20. So I can say, oh, you know, around -30 or so, I want the A shape to be taking hold. And by the time I get up to -9 dB, I want it to have transitioned completely to the B shape. So now we've got an amp that when it's played kind of quietly has kind of an overdrive sound, and as it gets louder, you can't really tell because this is subtle, but I'll show you a more obvious one. But as it gets louder, it becomes more asymmetric, which means it actually has a little bit less drive and a little bit more even harmonics, which especially older amps have that kind of a behavior. So I think that's kind of a cool way to emulate some more retro type of amp styles. Here's a good example of, oh, I thought I saved, oh yeah, here we go. I saved a patch that does more of this. So here I have shape A as overdrive and shape B as sine fold. So you can hear that as I play sort of quietly, it sounds pretty much like your typical overdrive type of distortion. But as I play louder, it turns into that kind of digital, different distortion style. But it smoothly transitions from one to the other, and even as the note fades, kind of fades right back into traditional overdrive as it gets quieter. So you can do a lot of pretty unique distortion amp type sounds with that wouldn't even be possible in real life. kind of a unique sound. What else? So, you know, I can get everything from, like I was showing you, I can do some good old cliche metal, just metal heavy stuff. If I cut out a lot of the highs and do some mid cutting, and then do a few stages where we cut out some of the lows, so we can get some of these, like maybe add a little bit of reverb and echo, and you can get a really nice lead sound. So it's a pretty flexible distortion engine. Finally, you can actually choose, do I have it? You can even choose like soft limiting, which will give you kind of a, almost like a tape emulation. So there's a lot you can do. It's fun. I'm hoping it can kind of be a replacement for me for, not GarageBand, but Guitar Rig. Hoping that I can just kind of replace Guitar Rig with this for distortion-y stuff. And that's that.